7 live.
Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It's earring wire day. How's everybody doing out there in YouTube land?
Oh, we got the autofocus. I'm gonna fix your camera here real quick, sweetie.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we don't want autofocus. That's terrible.
Exactly.
That's You can
You
only have
can't
one
have
thing
you,
on this.
you can't have that.
You can't have autofocus because then you can only have one thing on the screen, at a time, or it loses its mind. So is that fixed?
That's fixed now.
Okay,
It just
great.
doesn't remember that setting, so I gotta put that on my checklist.
Okay. All right. Well, I have buckets and buckets and buckets of ear wires here that I've made over the past couple of days because I had to practice up a little bit because it's been a while since I made them.
So Jessica made it. She says hi. Frank's saying
Hi,
he's
Jessica.
Frank's melting in the Arizona sun, which is something I know a lot about. It is on a hot day in Arizona, you really can cook an egg on the pavement. I've done it before.
All right. So buckets and buckets of ear wires here. So I'm going to show you guys some ways to just make them yourself with pliers. And then I'm going to show some different kinds of jigs that people can purchase if they want to. Um, you know, the big thing with air wires is trying to get them the same, the exact same, because you know you need for earrings to hang evenly, right? You can't you can't uh you can't have one earring down here and one up here unless you've really done that on purpose. So to start, I'm going to talk a little bit about wire. And so for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use some inexpensive wire. So there's a couple of things you need to know about wire. Most of the wire that you buy in craft stores is what's known as an alloy, right? So this is some artistic wire. It's dead soft. It does have a tarnish resistant coating on it, and what that means is you can't put a patina over it, right? But it's this is brass wire, and so brass is what's known as an alloy, and this is some wire from Beetalon, and it's I believe it's silver plated. Yeah, it's silver plated. But underneath that silver plating is also an alloy, and that means it's a mixture of metal. And chances are that if you're using wire that's an alloy, um, then it has nickel in it. Nickel is also known as nickel silver, and it's sometimes called Mexican silver. And a lot of people have a reaction to nickel. They it just makes their ears a mess. And some people can't even wear like nickel as as a bracelet or in a pendant. But when you're talking about pierced ears, and they have a reaction to the nickel, it can really just get a mess. So even sterling silver has some nickel in it. Um, and even surgical steel can have nickel in it. So usually what you'll see, the things are marked hypoallergenic, and so that doesn't mean they'll never cause an allergy. It means there's um, a low incidence of allergy with them. So what I mostly use now for ear wires is titanium wire. This is some titanium wire, or I use niobium wire. The niobium wire is really cool because um, they use like a heat method to turn it all these different colors, and you can even buy ear wires. In On our Facebook page, I put a post with a lot of the tools and supplies that I'm using tonight, and so Where I usually go is Rio Grande Supply, and they have the titanium wire or some ear wires that are already made up in titanium. And they also have the niobium. The titanium is by and large gunmetal. I haven't seen it. And you can shine it up some, but it's kind of gunmetal. But that's something that you just want to keep in mind. Um, if you're selling earrings, you want to make sure people know, well, geez, these might have nickel in them. Or, if it's really important to you, if you think it's really affecting your sales, then you can make ear wires out of a wire that people are much less likely to have a reaction to. Okay.
Can I interrupt you right there just
You
to say
sure can.
I got to do the hellos, questions, and all of
This is,
that.
you got to say hello.
So Jessica said she made it. I think you know that.
I'm glad, Jessica.
And Joanne Bright says, "Good evening, all."
Good evening, Joanne. And I'm just,
Jessica says, "Me, I do." She has reactions to the wire.
yeah. Yeah, even,
Donna,
even, go ahead.
Donna Lee Little says hello.
Hello, Donna.
Stacy Timwell says, "Hi, everybody."
Hey,
There's a
Stacy.
Who's the character in The Simpsons? I just thought I sounded like that guy. So, and I think that catches us up. So wire away.
Okay, so so that's it. You want to be very, very aware of nickel and nickel allergies. And I don't see the label anymore or that much anymore. I think they decided it was illegal, but if you see Mexican silver, that means it's nickel. So you just want to keep that in mind. You have a duty to let your customers know. All right. Now, the other thing about wire is it comes in different tempers, right? So we're using wire actually comes in different shapes too. You can get square wire, you can get half round wire, you get twisted wire. By and large, tonight we're going to be using round wire.
Hey,
But
sweetie, I forgot Mary
mm,
Joy. She says hello, everybody.
oh, hello, Mary Joy. Hello, Mary Joy. Now, wire also comes in different tempers. There's dead soft wire, there's half hard wire, and then there's hard wire. Sometimes half hard wire is called medium temper. So sometimes it's called soft, medium, and hard temper. And sometimes it's called German style, right? So this stuff here that's silver plated, it's actually available like in Michael's and I think Hobby Lobby too. But again, you just want to keep in mind it's a thin plate of silver over probably copper, which has a lot of nickel in it, or some other alloy that has a lot of nickel in it. Um, by the by, I do see people making air wires out of copper, and I don't suggest that at all. I really don't suggest it. Even if they don't have a reaction, they're going to have green ears. You don't want to be the person who sells, earrings that turn people's ears green. So, the different tempers. A lot of people will tell you that you have to make ear wires from half hard wire. That ear wires and findings and jump rings should always be made out of half hard wire. Um, Otherwise, they pull apart too easily. But then there's just as many people that will tell you go ahead and make them out of dead soft wire, which is much easier on your fingers, wrists, and hands. And then you can harden them up later. It's easy to harden them up. So, I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you both. Why not?
Hey, sweetie, Deborah Gabriel
Yeah.
just joined us. And no, Deborah, we just really got rolling. And Leela asked, "Is there half dead wire?" And my response was, "No, only after a couple shots on a Friday."
Is there
But
half one?
half dead
So,
wire.
yeah. So generally, on the back of this package, they do the wire hardness scale. So there's dead soft, and then there's something called quarter hard that I haven't really seen that. Half hard, 3/4 hard and then full hard. But I haven't really seen the quarter hard and the 3/4 hard, in all these years. But I suppose it does exist out there. But like I said, there's a lot of people that will tell you that, if you're going to make earring wires or you're going to make findings, that you really should make them out of half hard wire. But other people say go ahead and make them out of dead soft wire and then harden them up. And I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to do all of that. Okay, now I'm going to put my specs on. My clock.
So,
now you guys don't know who I am, right? I could be, if I take these off, I could be Superwoman, but because I have these on.
so what, we go from Gilda Radner to Superwoman. Is that kind of the bounce back?
And I'm also going to put some safety goggles on. And yeah, they're goofy. Jewelry making isn't a beauty contest. I'm trying to figure out which ones fit over better. But you want to protect your eyes. You just do. Well, I might have to wear just the safety glasses. Let's try that. Here we go. Wire does flies around all over the place. So you don't want that. So, I'm going to start.
So Stacy says it works for Clark Kent.
It does. It does. If it works for Clark Kent, it should work for me. So see, I'm going to...
When I put my reading glasses on, I just look like Santa checking you off the list.
So I have some wire on a coil, and, it has this bend in it. This is dead soft wire, so this is pretty easy to straighten out. Let me make sure. Now, I'm moving across my body. I'm not moving away from my body, because when you move away from your body, your upper extremity moves in a curve, and so you wind up putting the curve back in it. So you want to go across your body, just like that, and that'll get it pretty straight. And again, I mentioned that this is dead soft wire. The more you work with it, the harder it gets. So this straightening that I'm doing here also hardens it up a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier to shape it. Makes it less floppy. Much, much less floppy. Now you can also use some nylon jaw pliers to do this. I'm listening.
I'm talking to Frank because he's saying, "Yep, definitely Santa." And I warned him, right? I had that whole Zeke/Santa thing going.
All right, so now I've got some, a nice straight piece of wire to start working with. It's not completely straight, but it's good enough for government work. And I have some flush cutters here, and the flush cutters have a beveled side, and they have a flat side, and you want to cut with the flat side, and you want to cut like sort of in the middle of the flat side or down at the bottom. You want to preserve the tip. There are times when you really need the tip to get in and trim off some wires if you've been doing some wire weaving or something like that. And so you go down here near the joint. One, it's a little bit stronger, and two, it preserves the tip for you. So I'm gonna put the wire in there, and I'm gonna cut it flush. So these are a special type of wire cutter that I think they're from Xuron, and I didn't put a link for them because I'm an idiot. I'll put it in there afterwards. And they prevent the wire from flying around. But I've gotten in the habit over the years of putting my finger over the piece of wire. All right, because if you don't, the wire flies. Mish can tell you about how wire flies around a room.
Ginger and I, when we hear the click of wire, we run. Only dog I know who's learned that lesson. It's hilarious. She hears click, and she's looking around like, where is it? Where is it?
So the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to make 2 pairs of earrings at once. So I've marked that at 3 inches. And what is that in centimeters? I should be kind. No, I can't find the mark.
It's a bunch of them.
I think 2 inches is 7 centimeters. I can't find the mark. I got to go back and mark it again. Silly girl.
So while you're looking for your mark, Deborah Gabriele says she's on her 3rd pair of nylon pliers. I guess I'm really hard on them.
Well, you know that most of the time you can just buy replacements for the jaws. You can unscrew them. And like I really should have new jaws on here. Hold on, I'll show you that in just a second. I hope she knows that, because lots of times you can just get the replacements. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to be smart and cut it. Okay, and so again, I want to flush cut it.
By the way, just so you don't get lost, Frank says 7.5 centimeters in whatever length you cut.
Okay. 3 inches is 7.5 centimeters.
Okay. Exactly, because I forgot the inches, but Frank came up with the centimeters, so you know.
So again, I'm going to flush cut. I'm using the flat side of the flush cutters, or side cutters they're sometimes called. And I'm holding on to this wire here, right, because I don't want things to go.
So Deborah says no, she must be part Wonder Woman because she breaks the pliers, not the jaws.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about pliers themselves, right? I'm using a set of Wubbers pliers, which are, they're not cheap. They're, I'm not going to lie. My favorite pliers are Tronex, Tronex. And I had a set of those that somebody in my family used for like household repairs. They're very expensive. They're about 40 or 50 bucks a piece. I haven't reinvested in them because I'm not doing enough wire work to justify that at this point. The Wubbers are less expensive, but they're like way more expensive than like beat along pliers, or pliers that you see like in Michael's. But my God, these are ancient. These are ancient. I've had them since before I met Misha. Misha and I estimate that we've been together 9 years, right? And there was a time when, I used them like every single day. I'm using them probably 2-3 times a week now. But these ones I've put some marks on. They're not nicked or anything like that. I used a pen to put marks on them. They're nice hardened steel, and they're more ergonomic. They do have a small size of these too, the baby Wubbers. So, if you're planning on really making a business, then it's worth it to have some good pliers, and they do last. And I mean, these have fallen downstairs. These have been on plane trips. They've been through a lot. They've been through a lot.
So Stara Deradorian says hello.
Hello. Okay, so
she says she can watch on her iPad now, and she can hear and type.
Woohoo! So I'm marking. I'm probably off camera here a little bit. Let me come here. I'm going to mark the center of this wire.
I'm laughing at myself, sweetie. I was so distracted today that I forgot to load my fancy button thing.
Oh.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do without Zoom?
So there's, I've marked it right in the center, and I've got some round nose pliers here. That's what these are called, round nose. And I'm going to go to the smallest part that I can on these round nose. Make sure I have that in the middle. And I'm going to bend it in half, and it's already a little bit uneven, but that's okay. So I've bent it in half, kind of like a paper clip or something like that. I'm going to see if I can even that out just a little bit. And now I did it the other way. Now the other way is longer. That's okay. All right. We've got this paper clip shape. And now I'm going to squish that closed. And everybody has asked me to show this. So that's why I'm showing. This is not my favorite way. But we're making some French ear wires. And we're going to make 2 at once.
So
And
RO1222 says, "Hi guys, I can't believe it's Thursday again."
I know. Hello, thanks for coming. All right. And I'm just getting that as closed as I can. That's about as closed as I'm going to get that. Okay. Now I am going to take some. So if I tried to make a loop in this with my regular round nose pliers, right? They're tapered. So no matter what I did, I mean, you could try really hard to just keep them in one place, but it's very difficult not to have one side be larger than the other side, because we have this taper. So
So,
I'm going.
sweetie, Stara has a question. She missed. She was a little late coming in. What kind of wire are you using there?
Okay, so this is artistic wire, and it's just a tarnish resistant brass wire. I'm using it for demonstration. I wouldn't normally make ear wires out of this because I know it contains nickel, and people have terrible reactions to nickel. By the way, it is the size of the wire is 20 gauge. 20 gauge is an excellent size for ear wires. 20. Some people use 21. That's a some people feel that's too flimsy. It's a little 21 is actually smaller than 20. That's the way wire sizes go. Other people I've seen sometimes use 18 gauge, and that's too thick for some people. That's not comfortable for some people. So 20 gauge is a good gauge. Now these are what's known as bail making pliers, and again these are from Wubbers. I did, if you go to our Facebook page, there are links to these pliers here. So this is 7 and 9 millimeters, and this is 3 and 5 millimeters, and they're the same, right? They're the same width. They're not tapered. They're the same width all the way up and down, and so that can make life a little bit easier. So it doesn't matter where. I don't have to mark these pliers or anything because they're going to be the same size no matter where I do it. And I'm going to put that, what is that? That bend in the pliers, just like I would in regular pliers. I'm going to make sure I can't feel that because I want a round shape, not an oval shape. If you can feel wire, sticking up, you're going to get an oval shape. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm turning the pliers away from myself, and I'm pushing with my thumb. And then I'm going to just reposition these a little bit so I can get that closed. Get that loop closed. So now I have what's known as a P loop. I'm going to close it a little bit more. So that's a P loop.
Do you want me to zoom in on that, sweetie?
Sure, if people need that zoomed in, we can do that.
There we go. That's a little closer. You're dead center, by the way, so you know where to work.
Yeah. So that's a P loop. I usually make my loops a little bit smaller, but lots of people do. They do the 3 millimeter loop.
Are we going to do my favorite part and break the neck?
No.
No? Okay.
And now I have, the loop is facing the 9 millimeter side, the larger side. And the wire is facing, these are going to be tiny. the wire is facing the 7mm side. And so I'm going to bend that wire. Yeah, no, I did something wrong there. Well, these are earrings for babies. Let's start again.
So, sweetie, we are right at the 30-minute mark. I wanted to interrupt you real quick. Did you want to talk about what we got going on?
We're going to have a raffle. We're going to have a big raffle. I'm going to go with 4 inches this time.
So, we've got several. Go for it, sweetie.
Okay, yeah. So we have several items that we're going to start doing a monthly raffle. Okay, and so we have several items that we're going to do for the month of June. We're hoping to have everything ready and set to raffle off by Monday. Might be sooner than that. And what we're going to do is put up 3 or 4 items a month. You know, one-of-a-kind handmade jewelry. And you get 1 chance for $2. You can buy 1 for $2. And then what did we say? It was 3 for $5 and 10 for $15.
But me being me, you guys can buy as many tickets as you want to buy.
Yeah, you can enter. You can enter as many times as you'd like. So keep your eye out for that. We're going to have that. We're going to have that coming up soon.
Thank you, sweetie. Now back to the show.
All right, so I'm starting again. This time I used 4 inches of wire because I must have written down the wrong thing because 2 inches of wire was really that was too small. All right. And there's my P-loop. And this is going to be small too. I think I'm going to do it over. So that's 3mm. That's 5mm. I'm just going to check out and see. You get so dyslexic. All right, this will work out. This will work out better. So I'm just bending the wire. And usually what I do, especially with dead soft, is I'll bend it until it touches the loop. Take that off of there. And I'm going to go ahead and see it's a little bit uneven there. I'm going to go ahead and trim that. Trim those so that they're even. All right. And I'll take my chain nose pliers, which are these pliers here. And on these little tails, I'll go ahead and make a 45-degree angle.
So
and now what I'm going to...
So Leela says, just like Goldilocks, too small to too big.
Just right. And I'm going to go ahead and trim right there.
Wow, I didn't expect that.
Right? And then you can use pliers to close up that ring. So those are a little small too. Maybe I should have done, you know, more like 4.5 inches. So those are a tiny bit small, but that's okay. You know, I usually make mine a bit larger than that. So that's a basic French ear. I'm looking for one that I made. This has got a fancy smancy piece on there. But that's usually more the size I make for French ear wires. And then what you want to do is you want to get yourself some cup burrs. And I did put some links for that. And you can put them just in a regular pin vise if you want to. But I like this little device here because this is going to spin in my hands, right? Easily sits in my hand and easily spins. Here's another, right? And I'm going to go put the wire in the cup. See, now I'm missing my glasses. And I see a lot of people just spin like that, but you're actually supposed to spin and rotate at the same time. And you go in just one direction.
I got
And
in
that's how
trouble
you
for saying that one day.
and that's how you that's how you round off the end of the wire so it's pretty comfortable going into people's ears, right? You want that to be pretty comfortable for
So,
them. Now,
so Stara's saying she has that tool, but no idea what it was for.
that's what
Now
it's
you
for.
know.
It rounds the wire for you, right? But you want to, I'm spinning the tool and I'm rotating around here. It's like a little satellite thing with these little baby earrings. All right. So that's how you make two, French wires at the same time. I don't really like to do that because I like to get kind of fancy. I like to be able to add things, to my ear wires. Or, sometimes this is, I made a coil and that's just a seed bead. And, that just makes that look all fancy. Or, I like to add, a bead or something like that. So I'm gonna just quickly show you that now. And I'm not gonna mess around here. I'm gonna
So,
start with 4
so
inches of wire.
yeah. So Deborah uses her to texture. Found out that they made texturing clay pretty cool.
Yeah, there's somebody, who is it? Somebody uses them for, I'll put the link up for this. I just put the link up for a kit that has 3 different size cup burrs with it. But Eurotool has this whole cup burr set that I use a lot. I don't necessarily use it with clay a lot, but I use it. So I'm just straightening out some wire here. Straightening it out. And you always flush cut. And I'm gonna just start with 4 inches. Now, some people that method that I just showed you, some people do use just like a pen cap, not a pen cap, but they just bend the wire over a pen, like a Sharpie or something like that. Okay, so both of our ends are flush. You want to make doubly sure that it's flush. You can go over it with, this is just a nail file, like that. All right. And if you don't have a cup burr, you can use a nail file to really just kind of carefully sand off the metal so that it's rounded. I often will just tape a piece of sandpaper to the table and move in a figure-8 direction because I've been told that helps you to keep it even, right? Because the more flush this is, the better it fits up against the wire, and the nicer it looks. So here's what I'm going to do. I believe in marking pliers. So you can use a Sharpie, or this is like a micron one, and I'm going to put a mark on my pliers so that all my loops stay the same size. Or about the same size.
I always just thought you liked racing stripes.
Yeah, I like racing strips. I can't tell you exactly where to mark your pliers because I don't have your pliers, right? These are wubbers. They're pretty big. They're pretty big. So I'm gonna go ahead. I've got my wire. I can't feel it. You don't want to be able to feel it. If you can feel it, you're gonna get like an oval loop. Which you might want that. That's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm turning the pliers away from myself, and I'm also pressing with my thumb here. I watched myself the other night and said, oh, I should add that. So I got up that far. Now I'm going to reposition the pliers. Now this is where marking them comes in handy because, you know, it's easy to scoot up or scoot down, right? And then you get a really wonky looking shape. And again, I'm just going to get that loop closed up. Okay, so my loop is all nice and closed, and I think it looks pretty nice. It's a little P loop. And if you're just making French ear wires, you leave that P loop. And then what you do is it really depends on how long you want your ear wire to be, and how wide you want it to be. You can do these things at different lengths. All right. Here's a funky looking, French hook. That one really won't fall out of the ear. That's from the jig. I'll show you that in a minute. So if I don't want to decorate it or do anything like that to it, then what I do is I just go ahead and I'm gonna be dyslexic. You can put it in a pair of pliers like this, the bail making pliers, or you can use a pen, or you can use something like this. This is a ring mandrel, and you can just pretty much hold your loop against your ring mandrel and bend the wire down. And again, I always, especially with dead soft, I'll always bend it so that it touches the loop on the other side, because it's going to spring back. So that's a really long, wide one. I also could have done it up here to make it a little bit thinner. And again, what you would want to do, I'm making huge earrings here because I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. And again, you can just take either your flat nose pliers or your chain nose pliers and make that bend. Right, so that's a great big huge one, right? But what if you wanted to add, a bead or something like that? So for that, you do things a little bit different. So I'm gonna let me flush cut this end. Dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. I am going to do about 3 inches this time because I don't want it to be quite as big. What a mess. What a mess. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and make my P-loop. Reposition my pliers, make sure they go back on that same mark. And so there's my P-loop right there. And I'm going to take my chain nose pliers. So you have to, this time we're going to do Misha's favorite part. We're going to break the neck. So I've got just the tip of my pliers inside the loop, right? One is inside the loop, one is outside of the loop actually, but I'm not down here. I'm right here in the loop, and I'm just going to bend back, and that centers it for me. And usually we'll open it up a little bit, but that's okay, right? So I broke the neck, I centered the loop. I didn't leave it just as a P. And I'm going to go ahead. Go ahead.
You need to tell Gabby to stop distracting Jessica.
So now I put my pretty little bead on there. And now I want to kink it in the other direction, right? But you want to be really careful with that. You don't want to put your pliers right on a glass or crystal bead, or you're gonna you're gonna hear crack. So I'm moving up. It's hard to see, but I'm moving up just a little bit from the bead, and I'm gonna go ahead and just a little less than 45, I guess, or maybe about 45 degrees. All right, and now again, you can use pliers, you can use a ring mandrel, you can use, a lot of people, if this was shorter, you could use a Sharpie. I do like to use pliers because you have a lot more control. If you're trying to use a Sharpie, you're trying to hold it steady, and it's plastic, and it's, falling all over the place. So, I don't like to suggest that people buy tools, but to me, it's worth it. So now I have it in the pliers, just like I did before. And I'm gonna push that over. Right? I don't want to get too. Let me fix that up a little bit. And then I don't think I need all of this. I'm going to trim some of this off.
I guess it's always better to have too much wire, huh?
Well, I'm being kind of careless here. If you're working with silver wire, believe me, you get your measurements down. Silver's at what, 1764 an ounce, I think, or something like that. I read today. Or gold wire, you really would too. All right, so I put. And so that's how you add, a bead. If you don't put this extra kink in there, then the bead's going to work its way off. It's going to fall off. So you can do, and you always have to do a little bit of adjusting. Because these earrings, you want them all in one plane, you want them flat, and sometimes this is sticking up and that. So you always have to do a little bit of adjusting. And one way to do that is with your nylon jaw pliers that I just put down someplace. You can carefully use metal pliers. You don't want to scratch up your metal. Here's the nylon jaw pliers. But, if this is, I'm going to put it a little bit off. If you make you take it off the jig, or you take it off the mandrel or whatever, and it's all kind of crazy and not on the same plane, then you just use your pliers to fix it like that. Now, I'm going to show you these earring wires. These leaf-shaped or marquee-shaped earring wires are super popular right now.
So, sweetie, let me interrupt you real quick.
Sure.
Leela's asking, do pliers scratch the finish off of the wire?
Yeah, see, so you can. So there's you have to, some people, especially when they first start, they'll tape their pliers. Now, that's a pen mark right there, but I have made all of these earrings and I haven't scratched them, and that's just practice. So some people will tape them. Some people will they have a whole set of nylon jaw pliers. I find those very hard to work with. Some people dip their pliers in tool dip to prevent them from scratching. If you have good pliers that aren't all scratched up, then they and you're careful not to like have a death grip. You get better and better. These are all the wire that I'm using here. Well, let me use some of this. I'm going to use some of this for this earring. This is some silver plated wire. It's very soft. And so you do have to be careful. So we'll make these next ones out of silver plated. I don't use a lot of plated wire. I either use silver or titanium or niobium, and they're not really plated. They're colored, but still, I don't want to scratch things. Okay, so there's a couple of different things that you can do. Like I said, you can tape. People just actually put a piece of tape over there, like painter's tape. There's things to be aware of, like when you're up here at the skinny part of your pliers, you really have to apply more pressure. So if you can do things down here, toward the box joint, you don't need as much pressure, and so that will prevent you from doing so much damage to the wire. But my answer is to use wire that isn't coated. So I'm going to show you the easiest earrings on earth. All right. I need one of my pens. It's stuck on there. All right, so this is 4 inches of wire. This will make marquee earrings that size. And I have my bottle of Aspercream lidocaine, which is about 1.5 inches in diameter. I can't seem to pick this wire up. It doesn't want to.
Do you need to use the lidocaine?
I do. I need the lidocaine. So there's my center point. I'm going to go ahead and make a circle. So when you're making these types of earrings, like if you wanted to make smaller ones, you want them to go. You want the wire to go between halfway and 3/4 of the way around whatever you use for a mandrel. Okay, so we got that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put my chain nose right on the mark, the center mark I made. I'm going to put my chain nose beside it. And I'm going to press them until I get like a fish shape, like that. And then I'll pull them apart. And if you look closely, you can see that one side winds up being just a little bit longer than the other side. And so what I'm going to do on that side is I'm going to make the loop. Now here, for these earrings, I put the loop on the inside. But for this one, I think I'm going to go a little wacky. And I'm going to put the loop on the other side. If I can find my round nose pliers. So just like before, I'm going to put it in at the mark. I can feel that. Okay. And
Howdy, Eva. How you doing tonight?
Make my loop. Release the jaws, but make sure they go back to the mark. All right. And there you go. That's the easiest ear wire I know how to make. You can also put that little tail on it so that it doesn't work its way out of your earlobe. Now, I've talked a lot about how, I'm working with dead soft wire. So all of these will need to be hardened up. And I am going to show you that. I'm going to show you one more hand style. And this is called a kidney hook. And so people like these because, they're pretty secure, right? They won't fall out of fall out of your ears. I do almost always use half hard wire to make these ones because this shape is hard to harden up. Okay, so this is wire that just doesn't want to, it doesn't want to behave itself tonight. I'm going to cut it off this. This is pretty springy, pretty strong. Titanium is a really tough wire. Like it really stands up well to water and wear and stuff like that. So I got that straightened out. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. If you try to do this with your fingers, you might not be able to. You might have to go and use the nylon jaw pliers. So again, I'm going to just flush cut that safely. And I think we'll go at 3 inches again. Like
Jessica says she's not allergic to titanium or niobium. There, I got it.
Yeah, they're much better to use if you can, you know, if you can. I'm gonna mark this at 1/8 of an inch. All right, right there at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna put my chain nose on that mark. All right, there's a tip of my chain nose, and I'm gonna bend it into a U. Okay, so that's going to be my latch. So I've got the U shape there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark 1/8 of an inch away from the end of the U. And make sure I give myself enough. Could be a little bit more. It could be a little bit less, but you know, we're trying to make, when you're trying to make 2 ear wires the same. All right, now I'm going to bend that wire down. Again, just with my chain nose. That I don't have my glasses on because I brought the wrong.
Do you need the ones I have?
No, I can't fit the
Oh, so you need another pair of goggles. Okay.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to cause an international YouTube wire incident.
All right, so there's that's going to be my latch. And I've bent it, I guess, into an upside down L. That's what we'll call that. We'll call that an upside down L. Now I'm going to put my pliers right where that bend is. All right, so can you see that? So I don't have the jaws so that one jar is on top and one jar is on the bottom. I have the jaws to the side. Right to the side here. And I'm going to go ahead and bend over here. I'm going to make a loop. Now you can see the difference, you know, how much harder I'm working with this half hard wire than with the dead soft wire. Right? This is all fun and games with the dead soft wire. And then I'm going to go ahead and bend this. Use just my round nose pliers, just right across from the latch there. I'm going to bend that back up. So now I have this shape. And I'm going to use my flat nose to bend this back a little bit. We're not all on the same plane again. All right. And now once again, you're going to use either, you know, a ring mandrel or a pen. Put the pen like this. or you're going to use some pliers. So I'm going to show you how much, I don't know if I should do this with the half hard wire. Right, I have a really hard time holding it against a mandrel and using it. I always have. So one of the best days of my life was the day that they came out with these with these pliers. So now for all the other earrings, I was holding it way down here. But I want this earring to be longer the way this one is. So I'm going to hold it about halfway. And I'm just bending it over. And I'm going to go ahead and put that right in that hook. All right. And then I can, make my little tail. And then you just check and make sure that your spring is working. So that's how you make that one. That's how you make that kidney one. And that takes all of this takes a little bit of practice. So I'm gonna, what time are we at there, Nisha?
Oh, we are sitting at 1 hour and 7 minutes, so it's time for you to do a community service break if you would like.
Okay. All right. So quickly again, we just want to remind you that we are having some raffles. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. But we're going to be doing some raffles. And it's, a chance for you to win some one of a kind handmade jewelry. Handmade jewelry. Now there's a couple of ways that you can harden wire up. And I'm going to talk about that just as soon as the slideshow of this beautiful jewelry I made. So this is a steel block. This is a sandbag. And you basically are using the sandbag just to deaden the sound a little bit of the steel block. Now, this is a chasing hammer. And I'm going to hold the hammer way down here. I'm not going to choke up on the hammer. I'm going to hold the hammer way down here. And I'm really just going to let the weight of the hammer work for me. And steel block, steel hammer, it's going to change the shape of the wire. It's going to flatten the wire out a little bit. So I have developed a little technique where I do half of my hammering on the steel block and half of it on a nylon block. And I'll show you that in just a second. Now what I'm doing is I'm just, and if you notice, I'm moving the metal. I'm not moving the hammer. I'm moving the metal. All right, so this is the front part. This is the back part that's going to go into the air. So I don't want to flatten that metal, or it's not going to be very comfortable, and it's maybe not going to fit. So steel on steel, that's going to flatten it. Now, if you're using coated wire, don't do steel on steel, because it is going to take the finish off on you. I'll show you something in just a second here. So when I want to harden the wire, but I don't want to change the shape of it, I switch to a nylon block. Okay, now if you already have a steel block and you don't want to, buy a whole new set so that you get one with a nylon block too, then this is the same stuff that they make cutting boards out of. And I have here a rawhide mallet, but you can also use a nylon or a plastic mallet. And so this other side,
Jessica's got distracted by Gabby. We need to muzzle poor Gabby. But she's asking, why are you hammering?
to harden it. Because
She
when
wants
you
she wants to
work,
give the wire a rough life. She wants a hardened rough life for the wire.
right. Well, if you don't harden it, they're going to pull out of shape very, very easily,
So
right? So
does
if
that
you've
make them
used if you
the springy?
yeah. So this
Okay.
was done with half hard wire to begin with, right? So it's already pretty springy. I don't have to hammer that, but most people have a cupboard full of um, soft wire. So I wanted to show how to use soft wire, but then you can harden it so it doesn't, because people will come to your craft table and they'll look right at you and they'll try to break your stuff. I don't know why they do it. But so this side, I don't want to change the shape of the wire. And I want to keep it nice and round and the same size, but I also want to harden it. So, it's the same thing. Same thing. You want to hold down here. So really, gravity is putting, you're not hauling back over your shoulder, And you keep doing that, and you'll be able to feel it hard. Now, the other time that you would use the nylon block and you would use the mallet is for, wire that's coated, right? Because you'd be able to hammer this whole thing.
Is that just a rawhide mallet?
Yeah. Right. You could also use a nylon mallet or a plastic mallet, and that won't take the finish off. This is plated wire here. That little mark right there is from the pen. Some people, I have never had this work, but some people say that you can take your nylon pliers and just squeeze it until it hardens up. I've never had it work. But see, that's pretty springy now, right? And I haven't even done it as much as I would.
So Jessica said, "Oh, okay, thank you."
Now, you shouldn't be hammering so hard that you would really hurt your fingers. But if you want to, you can use something like a pencil or the tip of a paintbrush or something to kind of hold your metal down. Right? I know that some people have tremors or something like that. So you can keep your fingers safe that way. Here we go. Phew. All right. Was there anything else that I wanted to show? You guys have any questions? I've been gabbing.
That's a great question, Leela. How do you know when the wire's hard enough?
So if you can't really pull them apart, right? So I talked about how I don't usually make this kidney style in dead soft wire because it's difficult to get it springy enough. I did harden this one up, and it worked. But it's kind of easy to pull them apart. Pull them out of shape. Whereas this wire that's half hard to begin with is pretty springy and pretty strong. So basically what you're doing is you're just trying to take it from dead soft to like half hard. That's what you want to do.
So it should bounce back and not deform easily.
Yeah, bounce back and not deform easily. And once you do it, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll be kind of amazed at it. Like this one was made with dead soft, and I didn't harden it, and you can kind of see that it deformed. Kind of pulled apart. Now, I forgot to harden it, and I stuck it in my ears, and it deformed. And so especially if you're selling and you're traveling to and from shows and stuff like that, you wanna get it so that they don't get all easily deformed. And it's the same with jump rings. I don't make jump rings with I don't sit and hammer jump rings. You can. Sometimes I occasionally I do, but jump rings, if they're half hard, made from half hard wire, are much, much stronger than jump rings that are made with dead soft. Dead soft, will pull apart pretty easily.
So Donna Little, thank you so much for this class. She's going to go have some dinner and hit the hay. She's got game day at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I never
Oh,
like I never like 5 a.m. I used to have to get up at 5 a.m. every morning to drive to Atlanta. Never again.
yeah. Now, there are on the market a whole, these are from, I did give a link. These are from Artistic Wire, the company Artistic Wire. And what they've done is they've developed a number of different jigs for you to make earring wires. So, and again, these are great. You're going to get two of the same, earrings, the same size. It makes it easy to do that. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't make it easy to, say, add a bead to your French wires or something like that. And you have to buy one for every shape. So, all right. So for this one, they say you can use German wire, which is half hard, or you can use dead soft. So they say to cut, for this particular jig, they say to cut 4.5 inches. And all of these kind of work the same. They just make different shapes. So 4.5 inches. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is there's a little hole down the bottom here. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that wire through. Not much. And I'm going to bend it over. And that's going to hold that in place for me. Okay, now I have to look at it exactly how I do this one. Okay. And then you're going to come up this side. And you can turn the wire, or you can turn the, I don't like the way that one went. This side. Then I'm going to come around. Come around this peg. And then wrap it around to make my loop.
I could see that if you really worked with your form a lot, you could get really quick at this.
Yeah, I don't use these that much. And then you take this little thing here and you squish it down. Squish your loop down to get that flat. All right, now I'm going to just release it from the form.
Good night, Eva. Have a good one. Careful going upstairs. She's falling asleep.
And I'm going to trim the loop. Let me go the other way so it's flush. I trimmed a little too much of that off.
Do you find that there's more waste with these forms or less?
I was just going to talk about that. There is more. There's more waste. If I were using sterling silver, or they do take a little bit of practice too. If I were using sterling silver, I don't usually use fine silver for earring wires unless I want to ball them up. I don't know that I would use them because that's a lot of waste. If
That's kind of what I was thinking.
$17.64 an ounce. That's a lot of waste. That's a lot of waste right there. But they do have, if you're using less expensive wire, they do have some cool shapes. And we'll do another one of them. We'll do another one of them. They do have some cool shapes and styles. Right? And again, that would have to be hardened up. You couldn't use that as it stands. I mean, it just, the very first time somebody put it in their ear, it would just get all deformed. So that would, and again, this is plated wire, so I would use the rawhide mallet on this one. And that would harden it up enough. And it's a difficult thing to see, but once you do it, you can really feel it. So again, if you're somebody who works with plated wire or filled wire, then I would invest in a nylon block and a nylon hammer or rawhide hammer. The rawhide hammers have become very expensive. If you're somebody that works with wire that's all the same through and through, then I would probably invest in the dual block. I like the dual block myself. I like to have options. So here's another one, and boy, they give you some directions. I'm not kidding you. It's like a road, like the old-fashioned road maps. Okay, so this one is 5 inches of wire, and I'm going to use the brass wire here because that's really soft. Again, I'm going to put that in there and just hook it over on the back. That holds it in one place. All right. I'm going to go around this loop. And then I always have a hard time with this one. I'm going to use this little thing here to get this wire where I want it. Right? This one here. Then we go around. And then we use this to make the tail.
So Leela added the nylon block and the nylon hammer to her shopping list.
Yeah, it's just as there's another thing that they used to sell where it was like 2 pieces of nylon block, but they were rectangle, and I think they called it a whacket or something like that. And you put the jewelry, you put one nylon block down, you put the jewelry on it, you took the other nylon block, and you just whacked them together, and that would work hard.
So should I go get the old cutting board we've got and a couple hole saws and make whacket discs?
And I'm gonna. And there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to do this too. Hopefully, I'm not forgetting like an important part of it. And again, I'm gonna get in here. See, this is why you preserve the tips, right? Because sometimes you need to get in. Right, and so there's that shape. And, they have a few other shapes. They actually have a diamond one, and they have like a square one, I think. And they have one of these jigs, too, to make an adjustable length bracelet. I haven't had a lot of luck with that, but they do have it. So that's one jig that you can use, or one brand of jig that you can use. I don't see these anymore. I looked and looked and looked for I think these were Beadalon. They but I don't see these anymore. But these were the same principle, only you cut a lot more wire, and there's a little hole here. And so let me do it with this wire, because I have very little brass left. So I'm just showing it to you in case you see them on a D-stash page or something like that. But this one came with these plates. And this one was kind of quick.
So Deborah Gibber says she has one of those from way back.
Yeah, these are like the plastic is yellowed in them and everything. So, this one disc made clasps. And then there's a couple of different styles of ear wires in here. And so you used it basically it goes this way. Basically the same way that you use these, only you could make a lot more at once. So I'm straightening out some wire here. And you put it in there. I actually have two of them. And you know what? Let me see if the other one has better. I think I've worn off the I've worn off the things that tell you what direction to go in. Yeah, we'll use this one. So I always had trouble with the first one.
While you do that, sweetie, how's the stream health, folks? YouTube's complaining a little bit, but our end looks pretty good.
I've got a long piece of wire in a short tent.
Good thing you have the safety goggles on.
Yep. But you just kind of kept going along here. I think it's this way.
Thanks, Jessica. Okay, then I kind of thought so. It looks like that YouTube is buffering a little bit. We're pumping out just enough.
Do we look pretty good?
Yeah, we're looking good. It's just I've had a couple errors from YouTube this stream.
And so you would do this all the way across. All the way across. And then there's little dotted lines here that would show you where to cut.
That's kind of cool.
I don't think they make it anymore. There was, oh, this is all messed up. One thing I didn't like about it is, to me, those are huge loops. Those are enormous. I would never make them that big, I don't think, in my life.
And they don't have a pattern that's smaller loops?
I don't think so. I think I remember that was the one thing that I was like, oh, that's really... I mean, it's not bad looking. It's not bad looking.
That's okay, Jan. Jan's saying he's going to watch on Facebook tomorrow because he doesn't even know what day it is.
Oh, that's okay, Jan. Thank you for coming by at all. We really appreciate it.
We've been there all week, Jan. I understand. We were lucky. I was lucky today that I knew it was Thursday.
Okay, so the other thing that you can use is this is called a wig jig. And let me just. And I went on the wig jig site because they used to have all kinds of free patents for the wig jig right on their site, and I didn't see them this time. I think they took them off, and you have to buy a book, which is just too bad because um, there were some cool earring patterns. So I'm going to make a pretty small. Let me flush cut this. I'm going to make a pretty small loop. Because what I want is a loop that will stay on this little. All right, this is way too much wire here. Let me do something about this here. All right.
For those
So,
I'm going to just interrupt you for a second here. I found a link for free wig jig patterns.
oh, did you? Okay. I'll have to look at that. I think I'm going to do a whole stream on the wig jig one of these times. So I'm going to go ahead and break the neck.
It's kind of like
The
a
center-
spirograph for wire, if I read it correctly.
And then I am going to, with this wig jig, it comes out best if you go ahead and, make a 90-degree bend in your wire like that. And you go ahead and put that on your first. And I would more carefully measure this. This is called a super peg up here.
The big fat one?
Yeah.
Or
And I'm
the fluffy
tugging.
one?
Yeah. I'm tugging. I'm not, gonna come around this way and then come around that way, right? But one of the nice things about the wig jig is it's easier to get this tugging. And so they kind of come out more straight and decent looking in the first place. And again, that was way too much wire. You don't need that much wire to do that. And then I'll go ahead and trim that off there. But there used to be tons and tons of earring patterns on the wig jig. Right?
Pinterest has got a lot of that, what they claim is patterns for the wig jig, but
Yeah, but then when you go there, the page is gone. It's not a 404. It's a page with links that don't go anywhere. They don't work at all. So
these I followed a couple of the links. There's actually a pattern now. Mr. Nebbish over here, I probably don't know if they're really earring wires or not, or just wire patterns with the wig jig.
but I'll probably do a whole live stream. So that's it, folks. That's all my all my earring knowledge. Does anybody have any questions?
Jazz saying he has something he made out of metal that has all kinds of knobs and wires that does pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I see people make their own earring jigs all the time. And I'm not cutting jigs down. I think jigs are great. I think jigs are wonderful, but there are some earring. This is so simple to just make with your pliers. And again, ones like this, where they're more secure, and you can make them yourself, right? And so you look around and figure out, well, how many earring wires am I making, and how long is it taking me to make them, and would I be better off, buying them, right? So it sort of depends. I always like to have there are times when I'll make an earring wire like this. Instead of making a loop, I'll make like a little spiral at the bottom, and then you can embed it into polymer clay. bake it right in the polymer clay. The only problem with that is sometimes that changes the color of the metal. If you're making them yourself, like I said, I made these myself. This is just a little coil of copper, and that's just a little blue seed bead, so, to match my project. Um, or, if you want to put a nice crystal, sometimes you get to the end of a necklace or a bracelet or something like that, and you have, you know, maybe only 3 or 4 beads left. And you can put them on your earring wires and then, make matching earrings to go with it. I don't think I got to show this, um, but, or this one here. These are ones that I did make out of fine silver. I balled the silver up first. Fine silver balls up really nice. It took me a very long time to work harden the fine silver. It's very, very soft because it's very, very pure. But there's just so many things that you can do if you are making your own. So I'm going to just show you really, really quick, just one last little pretty little thing. Pretty little thing you can do. And I'm putting them back on because I'm a good doobie.
So Deborah Farber says she's late to the party. She'll catch us tomorrow, but she has one of those little wig thingies.
Does she?
Yeah, Jan corrected me. He didn't make it. He's just got one out of metal that does pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, they used to sell one in the big box stores that was metal. I think some of them, like, instead of the pegs screwing in, they instead of the pegs just sticking in, they screwed in from the back. So I've made my loop like I always do, but this time I'm going to just go a little bit further with that loop. Just a tiny, tiny bit further. I'm going to take it out of the pliers. And I'm going to hold it in my chain nose pliers. Like that. So it's kind of half. Actually, we should come down here. Because if we're up here, we really have to press hard. And this is plated wire, so we don't want to do that. So half of my loop is hanging out there, and I'm going to press and then scoot, press and then scoot, press and then scoot, press and then scoot, and then scoot, press and then scoot. So now I have a spiral. Right? And I'll go back to my round nose pliers. This is an enormous piece of, you can always tell when I'm trying to. Go back to my round nose pliers here. And try not to get dyslexic. And just make a loop. Like that. And then I have to find, I'm going to go ahead and use these Big Lubbers baling pliers again. All right. And I'm going to put it so that the loop is facing away from the mandrel that I want to use. And again, I would never use this much wire. I like to pull it all the way over if I can. I'm going to trim that right about here. Holding on to the wire so it doesn't fly off and, blind Mish or the dog. Or anybody. I don't like to blind anybody. I'm going to make my little 45-degree angle. Like that. I'm going to use my wire rounder. Oh, I don't have my glasses on. So I'm twisting the tool and then rotating, always in the same direction. Always, always, always in the same direction. So that rounds that off. And now for this ear, so you could hang your dangle here, or through here. Doesn't matter. But probably here would look better. And again, because this is plated wire, I would use the nylon. To work hard in that, so that when those nasty people at the craft shows try to take your jewelry apart, you'll foil them. You'll foil their efforts. So that's that's just a little thing that you can do. You could also I don't have the time to show you tonight, but you can make a closed spiral too. They're all just little things to really just make the ear wires yours. Okay. Any more questions?
No, you got me. Folks, I want to really thank you for joining. We'll be announcing more on the raffle tickets for getting some of Cynthia's pieces. They are really pretty pieces. These are some of the stuff we went through. We've spent the last week picking some of the cooler pieces for this.
Yeah, including a wood burned piece. If I don't know if Misha has a photo of it's a bolo necklace, and it's my own design. I put a half of a sunflower on. I burned it onto a wooden disc, and then used some stains on it, and then put about 1,000 coats of varnish on it. So that's a really nice one. Those ones, there's only 2 of them left. I had originally made like 150 of them or something like that. But there's just 2 of them left. Those really sold. All right. Well, I hope this was informative for everybody. I hope everybody learned a lot, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. It's a lot of information. There's all kinds of different, styles.
I got questions coming in, sweetie. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So Deborah, we'll be putting up the links of how to get into the raffle. This is kind of the sneak preview pre-release on it. Here's some of the pieces here. Here's the pricing. It's been a crazy week. We hit this morning going, okay, we've got the pieces. Crap, how do we do this raffle?
Well, no.
So this one showing that you see is the little daisy piece.
That's a sunflower, but yeah.
Sunflower, yeah.
Mandala. Yeah. So it's more that we're trying to really make sure that we're following Facebook's rules and PayPal's rules and the IRS's rules.
There's 3 people you don't want to get in trouble with: Facebook, PayPal, and the IRS.
We don't want to go to jail at our age, right? At our age. So, just keep this in mind. Just keep this in mind that you can make your own pretty earrings. Keep in mind that you want, to make sure people know if there's nickel in the metal that you used. And if you're using, plated wire or coated wire, there is likely nickel in it, or brass. Do not use copper to make ear wires. Please don't do that. I see people do it. Even if somebody doesn't have a reaction to the nickel, their ears are going to turn green, and it's going to be not pretty. Again, this is some titanium wire here. That's a very low allergy. And niobium wire is also really very, very low allergy risk. And they make the niobium in beautiful colors that I just don't happen to have any right here. They make niobium that looks just like copper too. But the titanium tends to be this gunmetal finish. And on the Facebook page, if you look, there's all kinds of links to where you can get things. And if you don't see what you're looking for, just ask me in the comments and I'll add it.
All right, folks. If you missed anything or you just want it again, we're on Facebook tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be repeating this one. And wish the Facebook fairies lots of good luck, because maybe we'll get something put up by then. All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks for all the thanks and best with it wishes. You know, if you can, help join the pitch out with the channel, and have a great night.
Bye-bye.